Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this is going to be a Raid Shadow Legends video. Happy end of the week to you. It is Thursday, and we've got a lot going on in Raid. The Razel Varg fusion is about to come to a close. We've got a big 3x speed dragon tournament going on, and then we have also got some balance changes coming to the game, which is always exciting. We can take a look at some champions that are maybe a little bit underwhelming and talk about if this will be impactful for them or not. So I will get you in the loop on everything happening in Raid, the game, and the community. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so first of all, as we head into this weekend, there is going to be a 10x going on for some damage dealing type champions. Now, I know that most of us are not into 10x's and we only want to pull during either 2x's or guaranteed events, or at least during a fragment or a fusion or a champion chase or something going on. But in case you're curious, there is going to be a 10x for some pretty good champions. Gorgid is a new Void Legendary, new-ish Void Legendary, who is a very meta DPS champion, god tier arena damage dealer. So you'll probably see a lot of the higher spenders probably YOLOing a few Void Shards to try and get Gorgid and empower him and all of that kind of stuff. Canderfon, a really good non-affinity Void damage dealer for the arena. Hefrock also seeing a lot of play. Trunda falling down a little bit in the meta, but she still is one of the hardest hitting champions in the game. And then you've got Skullcrown, Royal Guard, Husk, and Magnar. Magnar is going to be a really good PvP champion, really tanky, can hit super hard as an HP scaling champ. And then Royal Guard, one of the best PvE epics in the game. And Husk also very, very good in places like the Hydra. Skullcrown falling down a little bit in the meta the last 2 years or so, but still a very good early game epic for the arena. So yeah, some pretty solid at 10x's going on, but given the metrics that I've seen in the community, most people are not super interested in the 10x's. They're usually just an opportunity for players to chase a certain epic because it's a lot more realistic to proc the effect of the epic hitting the 10x than it is for a legendary, because even if you do summon a legendary, 10x just doesn't really cut it anymore. They need to up that to like a 25x. They've basically doubled the amount of legendaries in the game since the start of Raid, and they've left the events at 10x. So yeah, hopefully they will adjust that to 20x or 25x, and these will be a little bit more hyped up. And then we've got some balance changes coming to the game today, and Nodgar, the Headhunter, a very interesting like sacrifice HP, interesting mechanics kind of champion that I haven't seen used a ton. I don't have him personally on my account, which is unfortunate because I think he's one that you really need to test to understand a lot. But the changes that are happening to him is, instead of just placing the continuous heals on himself where it says this champion for 2 turns, over on the changed side of that first ability, it says places a continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. So a little bit of a buff there. And then getting a big change on the A3, you can see then grants an extra turn. So what this means is Nodgar is kind of, it's a little bit wordy and it's a little bit tough to understand, but what he's going to do is he's going to sacrifice HP to lower himself, and then he is going to equalize HP with a target enemy. So if you've got a Duchess with like 120,000 HP, you could knock them down to like 60,000 HP, knock them down 50%, and then hopefully nuke them down and kill them because he gets an extra turn now that this A3 is going to grant that. So it, like, could be interesting. I really need to test it. It's hard to, like, this isn't like one of those standard things where you can read a support champion's kit and be like, yep, this is gonna be good, or see the damage multipliers and be like, yep, this champion's gonna be good. This champion really needs some testing in some real world scenarios to see if this will be good enough to make him viable. But it's definitely a big buff to Nodgar. Whenever champions get the addition of granting an extra turn on an ability, it just gives them a ton more utility. And that's not all, because the passive is actually a really big change as well. It's going to be reviving him to a full turn meter instead of a 50% turn meter. So if you build him squishy, high damage, and he's a pretty squishy champion, by the way, only 12,000 base HP. If he revives, and he's usually going to be the only one to die or the first one to die and all that, now he gets a full turn meter. It can kind of pop off with some of the stuff. So as a featured damage dealer, he's got some AoE, he's got an A1 that can do some self-sustain and grant an extra turn as well. So definitely moves him up the board. We'll have to adjust his grades on the tier list and do a little bit of testing for him, because Nodgar going to be a very interesting damage dealer with some situational utility where he could be extremely impactful if played correctly. And the second balance change that is happening is actually in the Oryx as well. So two different Oryx getting some love here on the balance change iteration that Plarium is doing today. We've got Gomlock Skyhide. Now the A2 is going to be changing to basically steal all buffs, or attempt to steal all buffs instead of 2 random buffs, and then also has a chance of stealing 50% of the turn meter, whereas before you see it said also a chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 50%. So just going to be functioning a little bit different and a little bit more consistent. And on a single target ability, it's definitely good that it steals all buffs, because it's just not impactful enough in the meta of Raid to have it do 2 random buffs if it's a single target ability. But this does book to a 2-turn cooldown, which is really rare in Raid. So could be some very consistent targeting and stealing and manipulation of turn meter if you're in like a high speed team where he's cranking out turns. This would be happening all the time. And Gomlock also has this passive right here, and it says whenever 4 or more buffs are placed by the enemy team in a single turn, which is actually super common, because like if somebody places 1 buff, that's going to proc the effect, because you're fighting in the arena. There's 4 different opponents, and then just 1 buff on each of them procs this. So I like that. It's very consistent. It's going to place a shield of 30% instead of 15%. So definitely a lot better. I almost wish this would be on the whole team. I mean, it does have a 3-turn cooldown. It only happens once, and it's only 30% HP of a champion that has 19,600 base. And I mean, he scales with attack. So yeah, it's not going to be like a massive type shield. I wish this would just be like 25% of his max HP and go on the whole team. But nonetheless, this is a very solid change, and it does make him a lot better as a champion for sure. I don't know that this is as big of a change as the Nodgar changes, because Nodgar gets an extra turn kind of baked into his stuff, which is an insane addition to his kit. But all in all, both Nodgar and Gomlock are going to slide up the board and be a lot more viable for sure. And then as we transition to the stuff happening in game, CVC has come to a close. So good luck. I hope it went well for you. And that means your next CVC match will be in about 12 days from now. We will not have a CVC next week. So then the Tuesday after that, about 12 days from today, towards the middle of May, is when you will be getting your next CVC iteration. And then also the Razelvarg. I can't see it. I made sure to fuse my Razelvarg during CVC to get the boost of points. So I'll be building Razelvarg like tonight on stream or something, hanging out. I'm kind of back to the normal workflow. We're back in the studio on a daily basis, and time to get back to the grind. So I'll be hanging out with you more often and discussing some things like building the new Razelvarg. But yeah, make sure you get that done today, ideally, because you are going to be ending it pretty soon here. And what you see is what you get on the stuff going on. These are the last 2 things for Razelvarg. You've got your dungeon divers and your artifact enhancement that you're going to want to be running. And if you do still need to do your dungeon divers, there is a super cool tournament going on right now with this dragon tournament, coinciding with a 3x speed event. Now, the way that it is calculated, it means you have a 27% chance of getting speed artifacts every single dragon run, because it calculates it 3/11. So get in there, run the dragon if you would like. I may do some charting of some dragon 10 hard runs and see how many speed pieces I get, see if it ends up being worth it and all of that. But yep, very important stuff to get done today to make sure you're keeping pace for the Razelvarg coming to a close, and then also the Dragon Tournament and the Dungeon Divers double dipping during a 3x speed artifact event. And I guess my camera's blocking it, but right there you can see the 3x speed going on for the next couple days. And you know what time it is. Let's pop into the shop and see if there's anything worth going over. The dungeon pack, okay, gift, monthly, mini mix, no 101%. We've got the personal pack. Okay, so worth discussing. Let's pull up the good old offer calculator here. Tools, offer calculator. Okay, so 10 energy refills is 489, and then the energy here of 1400. Okay, so we would go with the 1400 energy. I'll kind of fill this up and we'll see how we do. Then for this last one, it's going to depend. I would probably go with the 3 days of XP. So if we do the XP banner times 3 and we do the 2800 energy, bang, we got to delete this. Okay, and then if it is $10, let's plug that in. Hey, a 1.28. If we go with the offer that you see up there, the 1400, the 1400, and the 3 days of XP. So not too bad. I mean, a 1.28 is anybody towards like the upper middle tier of spending would make sense if you're kind of going for, especially if you're going to be running a ton of Dragon. Honestly, like if you can do Dragon at 10 of hard mode, this might be, this has a little bit more value than normal. This might be closer to a 1.5 because we have a 3x speed event going on. So I would say for anybody that is like at least in the mid tier of spending, this is worth considering because you get 2800 energy and then just a little bit more consistency on your days of XP or whatever else you would like to prioritize, multi-battles, whatever. But yeah, anyway, not amazing, but it's a little bit better than we typically see here. So sack of gems, this will be a good one to plug in. It was 20 bucks for 3,000. So let's go 20. Actually, let's just reset this. Let's go 20 bucks and 3,000 of the gems. A 1.83. Okay, so this one would take priority. I would say if you're choosing between the personal pack and the sack of gems, I would do this because it grades out as a 1.83. And it's 3,000 gems. So even if you turn this into energy, you would go 3,000 divided by 40 per refill is 75 refills for your energy if you were turning this into that. Then you get 130. So you get 75 times 130 energy per refill as long as you have played enough to have your energy refills be 130. That's 9,750 energy, but it is double the price of the personal pack builder. This gave you 2,800. So if we divide by 2, you're getting 4,800 energy instead of the 2,800. So I would say that this one is definitely better. That's why it grades out as a 1.83 instead of a 1.28 or whatever. So I would say really for anybody that's a spender on raid at all, this like this is the kind of offer that I would scoop up. I'm at the point on my raid account where I'm very diligent now, and I only usually personally consider offers that are over a 1.5. So this is right in my wheelhouse. This is the kind of offer that I would actually get out there and spend for. 3,000 gems for 20. You know, it's going to be one of the better offers that we see in game. We only get about maybe 2 or 3 offers a month that are about the 1.8 level. And I know because of the Dragon tournament, a lot of you are going to be curious how much energy is that 3,000 gems worth, and it's worth 9,750. So if we reset this and we put in 9,750, we go 9,750 and boom. And if we put for $20, look at that. And you can see because of how the offer calculator is priced, it kind of has everything pretty consistent. So even if you just convert it to straight energy, it's still a 1.83. So yeah, you have to take that for what it means for you and your account, but it's one of the better offers we typically get in game. I'd say about only once a week we get an offer somewhere kind of close to that 1.8 range. And then they're selling a special potions pack here for Razer, obviously in honor of fusing him and then ascending him up right away because he is a Spirit Affinity champion. I would way recommend just buy the energy instead. Like spend this 20 bucks on the sack of gems for sure, and then just run the damn Spirit Keep and the Arcane Keep. Do not, this is like too expensive. This needs to be more potions than this for it to be worth it. So yeah, my recommendation is we at least have something worth discussing in the shop today, so that's exciting. But I would go with the sack of gems would be the priority, but the personal pack builder is pretty decent as well for people approaching that upper mid tier of spending. And we get to YOLO something because my daily login, I went through the whole month and got the Immortal Soul Stone. So let's go ahead and pull it. Let's see if it ended up being worth going through the whole rotation. Here's my 6-star Duchess. And boom, there it is. Absolutely massive. The 3-star Bombardier, exactly what I wanted. GG. So let me know down below what you think about the balance changes to Nodgar and Gomlock, and which one do you think got the better end of it. We may do some polling over on the community tab of the channel to ask you about some of the stuff going on with the balance changes and everything kind of happening in game. And if you were able to finish Razer and all of that, I'll be getting a dedicated guide out over like on our Champion Guides channel and on my main channel, talking about how I end up building the Razer on my main account and testing him and using him and where he's going to fit within the context of my different teams. I'm excited to do a deep dive on him as well. And then we will probably get next week, we're probably going to get some sort of guaranteed event, probably for Void Shards. It's going to be coming down the pipe pretty soon here. So that'll do it for me on this one. Remember to subscribe on your way out if you enjoy daily Raid Shadow Legends content. I appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Peace.